now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A Detroit man who was traveling in Germany was arrested for allegedly pushing two women into a ravine near a Fairytale castle.
We begin here at 5 with the breaking news of the brutal attack of two recent U of I graduates who were visiting a famous German castle.
One of them was killed, the other hurt. We have learned that 21-year-old Eva Liu was from Naperville. European investigators say she died from her injuries after being pushed into a steep ravine. CBS 2's Noel Brennan is live in Naperville tonight with a breaking news update. Noel.
Marie, as you mentioned, Eva Liu was just 21 years old, and her family is here in Naperville. We stopped by the family's home, but no one there wanted to talk. But news of what happened to Eva earlier this week has spread through the city. Eva Liu was traveling with her friend, 22-year-old Kelsey Chang, earlier this week in Germany. Both are graduates of the University of Illinois. The young women were hiking near the Neuschwanstein Castle. That's a popular tourist destination in the German state of Bavaria. The castle also inspired the iconic castle in Disney's Cinderella. German police say those women met this man on a hiking trail. Police say he told the women to follow him down to a secret lookout point, and that's where police say the man first attacked Liu. Chang tried to help, but the man pushed her down a steep slope. Police say he then tried to sexually assault Liu before pushing her down as well. The women fell about 165 feet. Rescuers found the women and flew them to a hospital where Liu died from her injuries. A 30-year-old American man was taken into custody. A tourist from New York saw that happen.
His face was covered in deep red scratch marks and his neck as well. There was clearly a struggle there. And he just had a frown on his face. He didn't say anything. He had a sort of disturbed look.
Kelsey Chang survived the attack and has just minor injuries. Reporting live in Naperville, Noel Brennan, CBS 2 News.
Noel, thank you.
Now, in this incident, which took place in Oberstdorf, Germany, 30-year-old Troy Bowling allegedly approached two Asian women, Eva Liu and Kelsey Chang, and promised them a romantic view of the Neuschwanstein Castle, which is known as the Cinderella Castle, which inspired the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty. And as he walked them over to this off this trail to this so-called romantic view, he then pushed Eva Liu off a ravine and then allegedly tried to sexually assault 22-year-old Kelsey Chang, who he also pushed off the ravine. However, Kelsey Chang wound up surviving because she wound up falling on a branch. However, 21-year-old Eva Liu wound up losing her life. Now, the German police are trying to see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of 30-year-old Troy Bowling, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And when I look at the alleged behavior Troy Bowling has participated in, it fits the things that I detail in the chapters about how beta males have a hard time with women, the sexual frustration of the beta male, and the chapter regarding the sexual deviancy of the beta male. Now, when it comes to many of these beta males, many of these men do not live in the real world. No, many of these beta males live in a rose-colored reality, and in that rose-colored reality, everything is completely distorted. And in that distorted reality, these males really go out here and don't see people as people. No, they see people as objects, and because they see people as objects, they are extremely detached from people, And that's basically where Troy Boling's perception of these two Asian tourists from America was. Now, Troy Boling basically saw Eva Liu and Kelsey Chang as two attractive women he possibly was interested in, but because he was upset about the prospect of possibly being rejected, he was possibly simmering and boiling in anger about being in the presence of these women, and possibly upset about the possibility of, if he were to approach them, being rejected by them. And that's possibly where he got all of this anger towards these women to participate in this sexual violence. And people need to understand that this is sexual violence that this man was participating in, because he wanted to hurt these women, and he wanted to hurt these women because in his mind he thought he was going to be rejected by them. And as he went up and approached these women, he basically had malice aforethought, I believe, as he went ironically talking about the promise of a romantic view of the Neuschwanstein Castle. And as he went out here with the prospect of talking about this romantic view, he was looking to go out here and harm these women. And as he managed to persuade these women to go off the trail over to this ravine, this is where he looked to go out here and participate in the sexual violence he wanted to participate in. And he really possibly wanted to participate in sexual violence against Kelsey Chang. And in order for him to do that, he went out here and looked to murder her friend Eva Liu. And that's what I believe happened here with this beta male Troy Boling. I believe he went out here looking to go out here and do harm to these women, because he really, again, wanted to hurt these women based on a twisted perception of his mind. Now, with many of these beta males, many of these men have poor social skills, and that was mentioned as related to many of his neighbors, who said that Troy Boling was one of these quiet guys who never made eye contact with people, and that basically showed me how socially awkward Troy Boling possibly could have been. And again, it was that social awkwardness that made him feel inadequate about himself, and it made him feel inadequate to the point where he was simmering and boiling in anger about the idea of these women rejecting him, and he wanted to hurt those women for possibly rejecting him, never giving them an opportunity to voice whatever opinions they could have had about him. And again, when I look at Troy Boling's background, again, they say he lived in a home with his brother. And again, beta males, again, they stay by themselves. And he spent a lot of time playing Dungeons and Dragons. So he was basically, again, looking to escape in rose-colored realities, and was also participating in behaviors like walking a cat on a leash. So this man had very, very odd behavior, and again had a hard time possibly socializing with people. And when he saw two women who he was basically thought he was going to be attracted to, he didn't know how to approach those women, because many beta males don't know how to talk to women. So what they do is go out here and try to use an attachment to get their attention. And the attachment he used was this view of this castle, and he used this to create a covert contract where he thought, oh, I'll get their attention, and this will be my gateway into being able to make a connection with them. But he really didn't want to make a personal connection with them. What he wanted to do was hurt these women, because he felt that he would possibly be hurt because these women would possibly reject him. And again, this is the type of twisted behavior that many beta males have, because many beta males, again, they come from a place where they never learned male life skills, they never learned male survival skills, and they never learned how to function. And possibly this guy came from one of these single mother households where he never learned any of these skills, because when I look at the strange and erratic behavior this male was participating in that was reported in Detroit, it basically showed me a man who was definitely one of these men in crisis, and a man in crisis who basically didn't know how to function in the world. Now, what's really sad is that two young college graduates have basically had their lives changed. Eva Liu, who just graduated from college, will never get a chance to start her life sadly, due to this beta male. And sadly, another woman, Kelsey Chang, will be forever traumatized as related to this trip that should have been a fairy tale for her. I mean, both of these women basically wound up suffering as a result of this beta male alleged behavior, because this beta male, again, he could not deal with reality, and he could not deal with real people. And as he came into contact with real people, what he wanted to do was hurt those people before he could deal with any sort of emotional hurt, not understanding that he was basically never giving any of these people a chance to make an assessment about him. And again, he didn't want them to make an assessment because he didn't want people to see him for the creeper and weirdo that he actually was. So, ironically, he wound up proving to everyone that he basically was a very sick and twisted individual, possibly if these allegations are true, because he went out here, approached these women, then promised them a view of this castle, which was supposed to be the castle of dreams, and then made their lives a living nightmare by murdering one woman and then trying to sexually assault another, showing us all that this man was, again, an extremely sick and depraved individual. And this is the type of behavior, again, that beta males participate in as related to their detachment from people, because a lot of beta males, when it comes down to expressing their natural masculinity and their natural sexuality, live in a place called the secret world. And in the secret world, they don't see people as people. No, they see people as objects. And because they see people as objects, they believe they have a right to do harm to people. And again, this is what makes beta males extremely dangerous to be around. And it makes them an extreme danger because most people don't know how dangerous this kind of guy is, because they'll appear to be nice and friendly on the outside, but they'll be dark and twisted on the inside. And sadly, most people, like these two young women who are just traveling on a vacation, won't know how dangerous these guys are, and they won't know how odd their behavior is, because they'll come across as nice and friendly on the outside, and unless you've got some spiritual discretion, you won't feel the creepy vibe coming from them. And again, that is what's really scary about these kind of guys. You won't really know what kind of danger you're in, because they appear to be nice and friendly and looking to do you a solid, when in actuality, many of these men harbor a lot of anger. Now, what's really sad about this whole situation as related to Troy Bowling is that he basically threw away his freedom as related to this whole situation. He was so caught up in his anger about these women rejecting him that he wasn't thinking about more important things like his dignity, his self-respect, or most importantly, his freedom. And now that he is gone out here and taken the lives of these two American tourists, he has gone from being a free American citizen to possibly winding up becoming a prisoner in Germany. And as he's going to become a prisoner in Germany, there's a possibility that he may wind up getting convicted. And as he gets convicted, he will be in a prison cell with Hans and Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, Rodney, and the German version of Mr. Sprinkles, and they will be going out here turning that tight end into a wide receiver as they trade him for the German version of Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of the German version of Crystal Light, the German version of Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand German biscuits, off-brand chocolate German biscuits, off-brand lemon German biscuits, snack pack puddings, and other German commissary. This is the final fate that this 30-year-old Michigan man will get as he takes an extended vacation inside of the German prison system, where Hans and all of the other inmates will be turning that tight end into a wide receiver and giving him the business in the front side and the back side. That is what this beta male basically has signed himself up for, because instead of him being a tourist of Germany, he is now going to be a tourist of the German penitentiary. And this is the type of behavior that most beta males have to deal with because, again, many beta males live in their rose-colored reality. And as they live in their rose-colored reality, what they do is have a distorted view of the world until they have to deal with the consequences of their actions. And that's what this man is going to be dealing with for the rest of his life as related to this assault on these two women. Now, what I find to be quite troubling about this case is the way the media covered the story. The media didn't want to reveal this man's name for several days, and this is a troubling pattern that I've seen with Daniel Penny. Again, the mainstream media trying to cover for these white male monsters instead of acknowledging we have a man crisis in this country, because the reason why we are seeing so many of these white male monsters going out here and participating in this extreme as related to the spectrum of violent behaviors is because America and the West refuses to acknowledge the man crisis all across this globe due to the dysfunctional way that boys like this Troy Bowling possibly were raised in their single mother households. Because as I read this story, they talked about how he was living with his brother and his mother wouldn't say anything about him. So I'm going to assume that he's another one of these beta males who comes from a single mother household, because it's clear that he didn't have any sort of male life skills or male survival skills as related to the way he approached these women, and the way he approached these women seething with anger possibly about rejection was possibly the motive for murder, because with a lot of these beta males, these men have really deep inferiority complexes. They feel inadequate about being in the presence of women. They feel awkward in the presence of women, and they get angry because they feel like they will not be able to get a chance with those women. But a lot of times these men undermine their own opportunities with these women, and this leads to them winding up on the road to participating in violent behavior like this, because they become detached and disconnected and don't see a person as a person, and don't see a person as having a right to reject someone and having a right to be with whoever they want. No, the beta male is angry because he wants to have his smooth world where he can get whatever he wants, and when he can't get whatever he wants, he wants to destroy the lives of others. So that's possibly what I believe happened here as related to this trip in Germany, where this man in crisis turned a dream vacation into a nightmare for these two Asian women. And again, this kind of man is extremely dangerous because we have hundreds of millions of these men all across the globe due to the dysfunctional way we've been raising children since the rise of the feminist movement, no-fault divorce, and the welfare state. And what's scary is it's not a matter of if these men go off, it's a matter of when. And the scary part is nobody knows if you're going to be dealing with this kind of guy. And this is why many women will have to start taking their distance and trying to avoid these kind of guys, because again, they make it harder for every man out here, because these men are extremely sick. And any interaction with these men can lead to them being set off, because these men, they're not ticking time bombs, they're landmines. And it's, again, not a matter of if they go off, but when. And when they go off, they do damage to the lives of people. And again, this is why I believe we need to acknowledge the man crisis in this country, because we've got hundreds of millions of these men in America and across the West. And these men are a clear and present danger to everyone around them. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to men like this participating and motivates them to participate in their violent behavior, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me do more videos talking about the man crisis and other men's issues, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.